think they said 17,000 people outside that couldn't get in. The fire marshals closed it at a certain level. The arena announced, I don't know the people at the arena, that I broke Elton John's record. And then I have fake news. The fact is that people tend, during a speech that I make, they love to come down to the floor if they're sitting in the high areas. And they're not allowed, for fire reasons, to have any more people. So that was an amazing evening. And you saw the enthusiasms. But we had a lot of people sitting behind that massive American flag that couldn't see. So they moved over and they moved down and they came down to the floor as the speech started. But Maggie Haberman was very fair, and she was there, and she saw the beginning of that speech. Every seat was packed. But then they tend to come down. They do it all the time.
But Mitt Romney did his last rally there the night before the election, and it was packed. He ended up losing the election.
Oh, I don't know. I fell. What can I tell you? Do I think I'm going to win? Yes. Do I think I have more enthusiasm now than I had before this, the 2016 election? Yes. I think you people do too. And some of you have reported it. I think there is more enthusiasm for President Trump than there was even for Mr. Trump. Because what I said that I was going to do, I did. The tax cut, the regulation cuts, the biggest in history. In 2.5 years, and that's one of the reasons our jobs are so good, because of the regulation cuts.
So why can't you tell us whether you talk to President Xi?
I just don't want to comment on that.
Is there a call set up for next week?
Well, I can speak to him anytime, but he understands how I feel. I just can't comment as to whether or not I spoke to him. But I will tell you this. We're having very, very substantive talks with China and with others, but with China.
Did you watch any of the coverage of that Hong Kong protest, huge numbers of people?
I can't believe it. I tell you, I've never seen 2 million people. When you talk about crowd size, Maggie, those are serious crowds, the Hong Kong crowds. I mean, when they said 2 million people on the streets, that really looked like 2 million people on the streets. No, I think it would be very hard to deal if they do violence. I mean, if it's another Tiananmen Square, I think it's a very hard thing to do if there's violence. And, that I'm president, but that's a little beyond me because I think there'd be tremendous political sentiment not to do something. So I hope, because I think we're going to end up doing a very good deal. And I think China, by the way, needs a deal much more than we do. But I really do believe that if this weren't part of the deal, possibly something would have happened already a long time ago.
Do you support the principles of the protesters, the pro-democracy?
Well, I'll tell you what I do support. I support liberty. I support democracy. I understand what's going on very well over there. I'd love to see it worked out in a humane fashion. And I think they have a great chance of doing it. Look, I put out, and I told you, that I really believe, I have a confidence in the talents of President Xi. I think if he met with the protesters within a very short period of time, they would work something out that's good for everybody. I really believe that. He's a very talented man. I mean, aside from everything, he's a very talented man. He's very smart, very talented, and I know him well, probably as well as anybody. And I believe if he sat down with them, now, that's not his deal, sitting down with people. He doesn't do that. But I think maybe the world changes. I really believe if President Xi sat down with representatives of the protesters, and they do have representatives, pretty good representatives, pretty strong representatives. I've been watching and seeing them. If he sat down, I think he'd work something out, and I think it would be good for everybody. But it does put pressure on the trade deal. If they do something negative, it puts pressure. Now, that deal I can sign by myself. It's structured so I don't have to go to Congress. But I respect Congress. I respect the views of Congress, and I respect, most importantly, the views of the people of our country. And I think it would be much harder for me to sign a deal if he did something violent in Hong Kong.
Do you support cutting $4 billion in foreign aid?
Are you talking about the rescission? Yeah, I support many of those things. We'll negotiate it out. But, I've cut back a lot on countries. We give billions of dollars to countries that don't even like us. and I've been cutting that a lot. We give billions and billions of dollars to countries that don't like us even a little bit, and I've been cutting that. And we just put a package of about $4 billion additional dollars in. And in some cases, in some cases I could see it both ways. In some cases, these are countries that we should not be giving to.
How do you see that cutting aid to them is helping the United States, though? Does it make us safer? Does it make us...
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. And if I thought it would, I'd probably do it. But, I cut back $1.3 billion a year to Pakistan. And when I cut it back, I have a better relationship with, as you know, the president came in and we have a great relationship. Prime Minister came in. We have a great relationship with Pakistan now. We had a really good meeting. So what happened, I cut back $1.3 billion. We have a better relationship now. I also cut it back on the Palestinians because they speak very badly about our country. So I cut it back on the Palestinians. We were paying $500 million a year. Now we're paying nothing. But I think we're going to get further because I could see opening that up again. I think we're going to do much better the way I'm doing it. We're trying to negotiate a peace deal. Everybody said that's the deal that's totally impossible. They talk about a deal between the Palestinians and the Israelis as the toughest deal you could possibly do, no matter what deal you're talking about. And I stopped payment on $500 million a year, but I think they're going to make a deal. And I think one of the reasons they'd want to make a deal is because of that, okay?
Are you going to wait till after the Israeli elections to put out the Middle East peace plan?
I probably will wait, but we may put out pieces of it. We have some very talented people. As you know, our great ambassador and others, we have some very talented people. But that's probably the toughest deal of all. Peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians, because they've been decades of hate. And it's tough to make a deal when there's that much hate. But I think I've helped it very much by saying, look, until there's a deal, we're not going to pay you anymore. And other people should have done that long before me. So these are things, when you talk about rescission, that's not part of rescission, by the way, but we have a lot of things like that in the rescission. Phil?
Sir, you're heading back to Washington after a week off. Do you have any thoughts on the cabinet? Is the cabinet solid and going to stay in place?
I think we have a great cabinet. Yeah, there'll always be people change because, after you're going to be 3 years now, it's a long time. They're under a lot of pressure. But I think we have a great cabinet. I really do. I think our cabinet is terrific. Some of them will leave for a period of time. They may come back. I mean, the relationship I have is very good with the cabinet and with others. But, it's almost 3 years now, if you can believe it, right? And at a certain point of time, people do tend to leave.
Are you still considering withdrawing from NAFTA if Nancy Pelosi doesn't bring up the USMCA on the House floor?
Well, I haven't said whether or not I would, but I would say NAFTA is one of the worst deals ever made in the history of trade deals. If you look at NAFTA and you take a look at what it's done to our country, thousands of factories closed, millions of jobs. It's been a one-way street. And the USMCA is a great deal. The unions love it. The farmers love it. Everybody wants it. But it's up to Nancy Pelosi. If she wants to put it for a vote, she's going to get overwhelming bipartisan support. And I view that as a bipartisan deal. I would imagine she'd put it up. There's an easy thing to do. It will be totally bipartisan, which is good for the Democrats and the Republicans. And everybody wants it. I mean, the unions like it. The unions hated NAFTA, but they love the USMCA. The farmers above all love it, especially the American farmers. Our farmers love it more than the other two sides. They love it. So a lot of good things going, but we have to see. They have to put it up for a vote. It's political season, if you haven't noticed, so they have to put it up for a vote.
You talked about people coming back into the administration. Could Nikki Haley come back into the administration in any role?
Yeah, at some point, maybe if she wanted to.
Have you
Yeah.
been talking to her about that?
I really haven't. I've been talking to a lot of people. No, I'm very happy with Mike Pence. I think Mike Pence has been an outstanding VP. I think that he's been incredible in terms of the love that a lot of people, especially if you look at the evangelicals and so many others, they really have a great respect for our vice president, and so do I. And so do, I think, most people. No, I would I wouldn't be thinking about that. A lot of people, amazingly, they bring different names up, and they brought a lot of different names up. And that's, by the way, at some point I'll let you know, but that's, by the way, standard. That's standard. Everybody thought that President Obama was going to change Biden. They all thought that in the, second term he was going to change. Everybody thought it, and he didn't do that. But no, I'm very happy with Mike Pence. Okay, thank you all. Thank you.
Can you just be a little clearer on your gun position? I don't know.
The which one?
Your position on background checks and guns.
So, Congress is looking at it very strongly, bipartisan. I put in certain parameters which you somewhat know about. I'm also very, very concerned with the Second Amendment, more so than most presidents would be. People don't realize we have very strong background checks right now. You go in to buy a gun, you have to sign up. There are a lot of background checks that have been approved over the years. So I'll have to see what it is. But Congress is meeting, bipartisan. A lot of people want to see something happen. But just remember this, big mental problem, and we do have a lot of background checks right now.
So you're not willing to support universal background checks right now?
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying Congress is going to be reporting back to me with ideas, and they'll come in from Democrats and Republicans, and I'll look at it very strongly. But just remember, we already have a lot of background checks, okay? Thank you. Say it?
Have you spoken to Wayne LaPierre this week?
I have. Well, I spoke to him a week ago. And look, I've had a great relationship with the NRA, and I will always have a great relationship. I've been very good for the NRA. If you just look, we have now 2 Supreme Court justices, great ones, and who would have thought that was going to happen in, long prior to 3 years. So we have 2, and equally importantly, we will have within another 90 days 179 federal judges. And I say, thank you very much, President Obama, because he was unable to get them filled. I don't know what happened to him, but he was unable. So President Obama did not do his job, and I inherited 138 empty positions. And honestly, from his standpoint and the standpoint of where he's coming from, that shouldn't have happened. And we did do one other thing I saw last night where some people were talking about criminal justice reform. Very liberal Democrats. I'm the one that got it done. And I saw that, and I said, isn't it a shame? You do something, and I've had very conservative people wanting it and very liberal people wanting it. But if you take a look at that reform package without Donald Trump, it doesn't happen. And you know what? I don't need the credit. I get enough credit. But they never even mentioned my name. And these were people that were begging me to do it, calling me, begging me like you've never seen. And now that criminal justice reform is done, beautiful package, wonderful, they don't even mention my name. So stupid, so stupid. Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, sir.